Hi, hello everyone. We're here today with James Whittle, the founder of Aspray, a successful business and a franchise. Hi, James. Thanks for coming on.
Pleasure.
Okay, right. Firstly, I want you to tell me and everyone about what Aspray offers your customers or your customer base, just so we understand what the business is all about.
So Aspray is a loss assessing organisation. Loss assessors are people who project manage insurance claims. So Aspray specialise in building insurance claims, and a loss assessor works for the policyholder. So if you're unfortunate to have a leak in your property, we will come and we will negotiate with the insurance company about the terms of your insurance contract and what it will cost to put your property back to its pre-loss condition. And then once we've agreed that there is actual cover in your insurance policy and how much it's going to cost to put it back, and we use a network of subcontractors who do the repairs. And then the insurance companies pay us and we pay the subcontractors.
Oh, okay. So it rings a small bell with me. I owned a house in Norwich, which I rented out for a long time, and I didn't really pay much attention to the tenant, but it developed a crack in a wall, and things like that. And I remember going through the whole process, and I'm pretty sure you'll tell me if you've got a presence in Norwich. And whether Aspray might have been involved, but I remember going through the whole thing, and in the end, the insurance did pay out, because we got to the point where the damage was accepted to not be through fault of mine or neglect or anything else, and So could that have been Aspray? I'm sure it was. It was a long time. It was a while ago, but I don't know.
It could have been. I mean, we always work for you, the policyholder.
Yeah.
So we're not sent by the insurance company. That's a loss adjuster.
Yeah.
So they're the people we joust with, I guess. It's what
Right.
we do. So if you just left it to us and we'd done it all, then it would have been us. And if it was an absolutely superb service, clearly Aspray.
That was all.
If you had any complaints, it was somebody else.
No, it was a good service. So
must have been Aspray.
Must have been you. I'll go back and check my records at some point. So how did Aspray start originally, James? And also the name. How the name Aspray. How did that come about?
The name was easy. There's nothing special about the name. In the early days, there used to be these huge yellow books called Yellow Pages, where if you needed any information or contractors or any sort of service, that's where you found them. They were in alphabetical order, so we needed a company that began with, or an organisation that began with A. We wanted the .com and the .co.uk website, so it was finding a company that began, or a name that began with A that sounded decent, and we could get the relevant websites. And I can't remember how we did it, but we came up with Aspray. So there's nothing special about it. It's not my mother's maiden name or my first dog's name or something, unfortunately.
And it doesn't mean anything, does it? It's not really a word with any meaning apart from.
It is just a general British surname.
Yeah. So that was that.
Yeah.
Right. Nice and simple.
It is.
Nice and simple. So yeah, of course I remember Yellow Pages as well, and that was definitely at the time. That was a tactic, wasn't it, at the time? Get in the first few pages, and then take a big enough listing that you stand out on that page, ideally on the right hand side of that page. So yeah.
Yeah. And people, the insurance company say, go and get some quotes, and if you looked really expensive, then that's the person that you would get a quote from.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was simple in those days.
Simple. Now, so James, what might not have been so simple was how did the business start originally, and what was it born out of, and what was the process that you started the business in originally, and what year was that around?
Year was 2005.
Yeah.
With a very brief history of my work life, my family was a trucking family. I was, when I joined the family business, the fourth generation in that trucking family, and throughout my school life, that was what I was always going to do. It was just expected, and I got to mid-30s with a wife and children and mortgage, well, not a mortgage actually, but living in a rented house. I thought, well, this isn't working. Working with the family is putting too much strain on all our relationships. So I left, and I thought, well, what can I do? And I'd been involved in a part of the family business was a franchise removal company. So I knew trucks, I knew franchising. And I thought, well, it'll be a bit difficult to get into the trucking industry, bearing in mind my surname is. So
Yeah.
so my career was franchising. So I helped set up a couple of franchises, and I really wanted to set up my own franchise, and saw a gap in the market really for help for policyholders when they had an insurance claim, having had my own insurance claim and not really being treated very well by the insurance company representatives. So I started doing that in Burnley, Lancashire, and after I've been doing it for 12 or 18 months, and we piloted it at Royal We, then set up the franchise, set up Aspray.
Okay, and so tell me a little bit about. So you knew about franchising. Just let's go back a little bit. And when what were your first memories of franchising in the definition that we all know it, which is kind of business format franchising, and as it is, and as Aspray has been built. How far does that go back in your history?
Well, 1988 was my first introduction to franchising, and it was part of the family business, I say. So it was a removal company, and it had been a large nationwide removal company, and had come across bad times, had shut down, and it was bought by the family business, and it was decided that the best way of getting back into a national company quickly was franchising it, and so what we decided was to sell it as an add-on to existing removal companies, which was probably not the best idea, but for 10 or 12 years it worked really well. We ended up with a network of probably about 30 franchisees. We had some big contracts with the military, moving married personnel around the country, and no, it worked very, very well.
And I'm assuming, James, that model stuck with you, and that's why Aspray, it was very logical for you to see franchising as the expansion method for growth. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it is a relatively inexpensive way of growing your network from one site to a multi-site operation. You're not going out and taking on premises or new staff or any of the other things that cost money if you're employing people, and you can hit the ground running relatively quickly, and grow your network like that.
Okay. Yep. That's what franchising is all about, isn't it? So
really.
it is. You've defined it right there. So James, so the other thing I wanted to know, I mean, you've been in and around franchising for a long time, and Aspray is your franchise brand effectively. And so if we talk about Aspray and from 2005 onwards, what would you say are the biggest hurdles, problems that you faced, either kind of personally or from a business aspect or from a franchise business aspect, over those years, and how have you overcome them?
I overcome them by sheer, complete and utter tenacity and not having a plan B. But there's been massive hurdles. We are a regulated business. We're regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. So there is another organisation who's telling me how to run my business as well as my own, and so we have to be very compliant. So that is something that I have to be very careful about. I think you can get a little overexcited as a franchisor, and recruit too quickly, and I've certainly done that, where you suddenly find that you've got more franchisees than you realistically can manage with the resources that you've got at the time, and so you then have to slow down. I think, and it's easy now because I'm I think quite a successful franchisor, and I've got plenty of royalty income. But at the beginning, for new franchisors, they have to be careful that they're not relying on the franchise fees as a way of paying the staff and building the business, because then you start taking on individuals who are not going to make a success of your business. And I think the other thing is business changes. So the model that I had, we'll talk about Yellow Pages before, the model I had back in 2005 is completely different to the model that I have now. And of course, if you've got franchisees who've been with you for some time and are still enjoying the old model, to try and bring them with you and to bring them to a different way of working, it has its challenges, and you can't just sit in your ivory tower and say, right, we're now going in a 90-degree angle from where we all were. You literally have to go around and see them all and explain why you're doing it and what the outcome will be, and give them the opportunity to disagree with you, and then bring everybody on that new journey. Because without doing that, you end up not being able to change your business. Change is a good thing.
Which is where, that's where this term franchise partnership comes from, right? Which a lot of people disagree with, James, because partnership, by a kind of a company or legal definition, a franchisor relationship is not that. But the way when you describe changes, big changes, whether it's technology changes, system changes, process changes, regulatory changes, which the franchisees will have to comply with, and you need them to comply with. It's not just as simple as getting them to comply with it. You have to, at that point, treat them like a partner. As you say, you've got to have those face-to-face meetings. And so, I still think that franchise partnership is a legitimate term, even if once you remove the kind of legal definitions of partnership out of it.
Of course it is. And I've got franchisees who have renewed on their 10th year, and one's renewed on his 15th year. And these people clearly I've known for an awful long time, and they have pretty much the same journey as I have through the whole Aspray thing, and they have as much right to discuss the future of this business as I have. Without them, I'd be a small loss assessor working from above an estate agent in Burnley, still, wouldn't I? And you know, and they're big boys and girls. They have an opinion, and if I ignore it, they'll pick up the phone and tell me what it is anyway. So I might as well listen to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, James. So tell me, what's the size of the network? How many franchisees do you have now?
I'm thinking 46.
Yeah.
At the moment.
Yeah, it's good when you can't keep total count all the time.
Well, it is. I mean, well, we've had a regulation has changed a lot in the last 12 months. So we decided we'd slow down on recruitment, or pretty much stop on recruitment, because I think it's unfair to take somebody on saying that you're going in one direction and then about turn and go in a completely different direction within a few months. And we wanted to get the regulatory bit right in here, and the way we manage and check on the service offering that the franchisees give, and then start our recruitment process again. So that's what we've done.
And James, what's the potential then for the UK? Like, once you restart that process, and what do you see as the true potential in terms of number of franchisees or territories?
I think we've got 120 territories mapped out. The most franchisees are single territory franchisees. We've got a handful with 2 territories. And I think 2 with 3 territories, which is as much. So I don't like putting franchisees in territories where they haven't got a bit of spare room around them to help them out on that first 12 months, so we can give them some extra work just to keep them going and their cash flow going. So I think if we had 65 to 70 franchisees, that will be the full United Kingdom. And it's not about numbers really. It's about the amount of business each individual does, and that is growing as we get better at what we do, and the franchisees get better, and we've learned what extra services and help the franchisees need to become successful. We've seen the average turnover per franchisee grow exponentially, even though we've perhaps got fewer franchisees than we've had for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, right. I understand it. And so that kind of leads me on to the question, and on the franchise side, and as a franchise business, how do you define success ultimately? Like, when you sit back and say that's really, that feels like a success to you, what do you define that by most?
I think customer service is massive for us. We want to be the best at what we do in the country, and that's really important to all the stakeholders at Aspray. So we want to see a really good customer service and really good feedback from our franchisees. Turnover and profit, of course, is important. We are in business, despite what many people tell me on LinkedIn, to make money, and there are many more pleasurable things to do in life. If you don't want to make any money, you can go and sit on the beach, can't you? So if you're going to work, you might as well work hard and have success. And success can be many things to many people, but some of that has got to be financial. So I like to see franchisees achieve what for me, it's achieve what they say they were going to achieve. So we sit through the discussions when a prospective franchisee becomes a franchisee, and whether that's a nice fancy car or a holiday in Mauritius or a husband and wife team making the decision 2 years in that they can work together within their franchise, or a child or a nephew or a niece joining the business. Those things are important to me, and I've always been part of a family business, so that's really all I understand, and I like the fact that not despite my own personal problems with family business, I do like to see everybody in the family in the Aspray franchise, and all working together and achieving what they want to achieve within that family group.
No, yeah, good. I like that, James, because franchising. Yeah, I always talk about franchising as being a local business that serves a local community, and and it's true. I think a lot of people see franchising sometimes in a negative way, as oh, it's a way of a big national brand doing what they want and squashing all these independent businesses and where I totally see it the opposite way around. I really, really do. And, you talk about customer service. Well, great customer service can be delivered at that local level, but have a national approach. And there's huge benefits to that. So, and the fact you talk about, the community being that direct, family involvement in a family business, that's exactly what a franchise can bring. It can create a real family business and involve everyone from that family at various times in their lives, or it's working together. So, again, I think, it's really great to hear that from you, and that's what Aspray can give people. And James, just you've got a reasonably unique name, but if anyone listening is interested or knows someone that might be interested in an Aspray franchise, and I know you're not actively looking right now, but where can they go to find out more? Is it as simple as Googling Aspray and they'll find everything they need to know, or
we have 2 websites. We have aspray.com, which is all about the service that we offer, and then we've got asprayfranchising.co.uk, I'm fairly sure, but that's the franchise offer. No, we are now we've relaunched our franchise because we now know what we want for our new franchisees. So we are ready to bring some people on, but again, it's not a lot, because there's a lot of effort put into starting a new individual as a franchisee, and there's a lot of effort needed to maintain our existing network. So we can't bring on all that many people all at once. You just bring one at a time and make sure they're right, and then somebody else.
Yeah, great. Okay, James. Well. So everyone listening, they know where to go to find out more about Aspray. And James, really, the last question I just wanted to cover with you is, throughout franchising and everything you've been involved in, and if you were talking to a successful business owner, an independent business owner who was thinking about franchising their business, and kind of following the route you took with Aspray, what are the key areas or advice that you would give to that person who's just starting? So they don't know anything really, but what are the key areas they should pay attention to or really focus on as they go through that journey of, firstly, making sure it's the right thing to do for them, and then when they decide it is the right thing, the steps to take from there?
I think the BFA always say you have to do a pilot. I think a pilot that is some distance away from where the business is located is the ideal way, just to sit back and see, is this going to work as a franchise? And even if that pilot is is your own staff and you're paying them, keep clear, accurate financial records, and make sure there's somebody actually going out locally and looking for business. I think franchisees often need more help at the beginning than you really think they may do, and so you have to be prepared to provide a training service, obviously, and you've got to train new franchisees, but then for the first year, sometimes 18 months, sometimes 2 years, they need a lot of help and support. And I think anyone who set a business up knows that at some stage within your first year, you're going to be sat down in your chair with your head in your hands thinking, what on earth have I done? This is all going wrong. And so your franchisee is going to inevitably hit that mark. And if he knows he can pick up the phone and speak to you, and you can help him through that crisis, whatever it is, you will generally have a franchisee for life. Whereas if you don't, he'll just, or she will just go off and do something else. So yeah, it's having clear lines of communication that is so important, that they know that they can speak to whoever they need to speak to.
Yeah.
The right person.
Yeah, James, I think that's absolutely right. I think communication in general is just so key to that relationship between franchisor and franchisee, from that early stage, pilot stage, through, all the way to growing a big network like you have. And so yeah.
But I think, finally, they have to have a clear plan as well. So help from a proper franchise consultancy is always a good thing. The very best solicitor you can afford to make sure that you've got a half decent franchise agreement, and then off you go.
and you never stop learning, right, James? Never.
Absolutely, you never stop learning, and you've got to. You don't believe your own hype, because you do make mistakes, and sometimes. I've done more than once occasion. I've stood up in front of the network and said, "Right, yeah, it was wrong. I'm sorry. I've made a big mistake, but we'll sort it out between ourselves, because everybody's. We're all in this together, aren't we? And sometimes it doesn't work."
No. And have you ever learned? Have you ever changed the way you do things, processes, and so on the basis of the feedback you've got from your franchisees over the years?
Yes. Well, more than once, but one particular one, we always work with the policyholder. I may have mentioned that before.
I've got that now. Yeah.
It should be written up here somewhere. But we ended up working for an organisation that was working for the insurers, and it was early on in the business, and it was actually quite a good contract. Some franchisees were making some money. And we had a conference in Harrogate, I think it was, and there were some franchisees who were saying, "Well, this goes against our business model," and others were saying, "Well, it does, but I'm making a bit of money out of it." So we sat down and we said, "Right, well, the only way to deal with it is a vote. You're all here, and pretty much all bar a couple said, no, we are going to keep on with we only work with policyholders," and so that's what we did. So on Monday morning, I rang the company and said, "We'll finish off what we're doing for you, but we're not taking any more jobs," and that was the end of that. So it was a loss to some of my franchisees in terms of turnover. It's certainly a loss to Aspray in terms of royalty and income, but it was the right decision. But I just needed a reminder from the franchisees as what was not written behind me.
And you know what? A good network of franchisees will never forget to remind the franchisor. So, and
No,
you got to listen. You got to listen to them sometimes. So,
and you know, it's communication. To if
yeah,
you don't talk to them, they'll all talk amongst themselves, and if you're left out of the conversation, that can only be a bad thing, can't it?
yeah, absolutely. So, well, James, on that note, we need to leave this conversation. So, but it's been great. It's been great having you on. I really appreciate some of that insight. And you know, I always learn. I've known about Aspray obviously myself for a long time, but I've never had a chance to speak to you. So it's been really interesting to hear your story really, and how the brand has developed. So you know, James, yeah, feel free to, if you ever want to chat about franchising and you're not attending any franchise events, I'm going to be at the franchise exhibition this weekend. So
Okay.
you know, we go to all these things. But hopefully we'll bump into each other at some point in the future. And
I'm sure we will. Unfortunately, I'm up in deepest, darkest Scotland this weekend. So
are you?
well,
Yeah.
listen,
So you'll be far away from the
I
franchising.
will be far away from the NEC.
All
But I'll
right.
think about you.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh well, James, thanks so much for your time. I do really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll catch up again soon.
Perfect. Thank you very much.